The morning rush at Rosie's diner was relentless. Plates clattered, coffee steamed, and voices overlapped in a chaotic rhythm Lily Carter had learned to move through with practiced ease. Balancing 2 trays, she webbed between tables, her worn sneakers barely making a sound against the checkered floor. This job paid the bills, barely, but it was honest work, and Lily took pride in that. Coffee refill? She asked with a warm smile, though her feet already ached. That was when the door opened. The diner seemed to quiet, as if the world itself paused. A tall man stepped inside, dressed in a tailored charcoal suit that didn't belong among cracked vinyl booths and chipped mugs. His presence was commanding, effortless. People stared. Lily almost dropped her tray. Alexander King, she recognized him instantly. The billionaire CEO whose face dominated business magazines and news headlines. He surveyed the diner with sharp, calculating eyes, then slid into a corner booth as if he owned the place. Lily approached, her pulse racing. He's just a customer, she reminded herself. What can I get you? She asked. Black coffee, he said, his voice low and calm. Then he looked up. Their eyes met, and something shifted. For a brief moment, Alexander forgot the billion-dollar deal waiting for him downtown. Lily wasn't impressed, wasn't fawning. She met his gaze with quiet confidence, her eyes honest, curious. Refreshing. When she returned with his coffee, he noticed her name tag. Lily, he read aloud. That suits you. She flushed. Thanks. Anything else? No, he replied after a pause. Actually, yes. Sit for a moment. She hesitated. Rules were rules, but curiosity won. She slid into the seat across from him. I come here when I need to think, Alexander admitted. No one expects anything from me here. Lily studied him, surprised by the vulnerability in his tone. Everyone needs a place like that. He smiled, small, genuine. You're different, Lily. She laughed softly. You don't even know me. Not yet, he said. As she stood to return to work, Lily felt it, an invisible thread pulling tight. She didn't know that this chance meeting would rewrite her future. But somewhere deep inside, she sensed it. Nothing would ever be the same again. Lily spent the next day trying to convince herself that the encounter had meant nothing. She told herself that men like Alexander King lived in glass towers and private jets, while she lived in a one-bedroom apartment with a leaky faucet and second-hand furniture. Their worlds didn't touch. They weren't meant to. Yet when she walked into Rosie's diner for her evening shift, her heart betrayed her logic. He was already there. Alexander Saturday in the same corner booth, sleeves rolled up, jacket draped beside him. This time, he looked less like a billionaire and more like a man who had been waiting. You came back, Lily said before she could stop herself. I said I might, he replied with a faint smile. I try to keep my promises. She poured his coffee, hands unsteady. You shouldn't. Why? He asked. Because people will talk. Because this ends badly. Because, she stopped, shaking her head. Because we're not equals. Alexander leaned forward, his voice low. Equality isn't about money, Lily. It's about honesty. Her chest tightened. No one had spoken to her like that before, not without wanting something in return. Between orders and refills, the conversations continued in stolen moments. He asked about her dreams, not her struggles. She asked about his childhood, not his wealth. Piece by piece, the carefully built walls between them cracked. Near closing time, the diner emptied, leaving only the hum of the refrigerator and the soft clink of dishes. Lily wiped down the counter as Alexander stood. Walk with me, he said. Outside, the night air was warm. They strolled slowly, neither in a hurry. The city felt different beside him, quieter, charged. You're afraid, he said suddenly. So are you, she replied. He stopped walking. Yes. The honesty in his voice startled her. This can't be just curiosity, Lily whispered. It's already more. Alexander reached out, stopping just short of touching her hand. Tell me to walk away. She looked at his hand, then into his eyes. If she said yes, her life would stay predictable. Safe. She didn't. Instead, she closed the distance, their fingers brushing, electric, undeniable. Then we're crossing a line, she said. Alexander smiled, equal parts wonder and resolve. Some lines are meant to be crossed. They stood there, hands entwined, knowing the world would not be kind to what was beginning. But neither of them let go. And in that fragile, thrilling moment, Lily understood something clearly for the first time. This wasn't just attraction. It was destiny knocking, softly, but insistently, at the door of her ordinary life. Lily stood in front of her closet for nearly 10 minutes, staring at the handful of dresses she owned. None of them felt right. They were practical, faded, reminders of a life built on making do. When she finally chose a simple blue dress, she told herself this wasn't a date, just dinner. Still, her hands trembled as she locked her apartment door. A black car waited downstairs. The ride was quiet, heavy with anticipation. Lily watched the city change through the window as they drove, small buildings giving way to towering glass structures. By the time the car stopped in front of an elegant brownstone, her heart was racing. Alexander greeted her at the door, no suit this time, just a crisp white shirt and dark slacks. "You look beautiful," he said simply. She swallowed. "This place is unreal." "It's just a house," he replied, though his smile hinted he knew better. Inside, the space was warm and understated, nothing like the cold luxury Lily had imagined. Soft music played. Candles flickered. The scent of food filled the air. "You cooked?" she asked, surprised. "I wanted this to be personal." Over dinner, the distance between them dissolved. They laughed, really laughed, and shared stories that felt too intimate for such a short acquaintance. Lily spoke of her mother, of learning independence too young. Alexander spoke of pressure, of being molded into something the world expected rather than who he wanted to be. "You don't have to impress me," Lily said quietly. "That's why this matters," he replied. "With you, I can breathe." After dessert, they stepped onto the balcony overlooking the city lights. The silence between them was no longer awkward, it pulsed with unspoken emotion. "This is dangerous," Lily said. "People like you don't fall for people like me." Alexander turned to her, his expression fierce. "I don't care what people think. But the world does." He reached for her hand, this time fully, decisively. "Then we'll face it together." Her breath caught. She should have pulled away. Instead, she leaned closer, her head resting briefly against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. Below them, the city roared on, unaware that something fragile and powerful had just taken root above it. And as Alexander held her, Lily felt the undeniable truth settle in her bones. She had stepped into his world. There was no turning back. The first headline appeared 3 days later. Lily didn't see it at first. She was halfway through her morning shift at Rosie's diner, refilling sugar jars, when her phone began buzzing non-stop in her apron pocket. By the time she checked it, there were 12 missed calls from an unknown number, and dozens of notifications lighting up her screen. Rosie's voice cut through the noise. "Lily, you might want to look at this." She slid a tablet across the counter. Splashed across the screen was a photo taken from across the street, Lily stepping onto Alexander's balcony, his hand resting protectively at her back. "Billionaire King's mystery woman revealed." Her stomach dropped. "That's you, right?" Rosie asked gently. Lily nodded, her throat too tight to speak. Conversations around the diner hushed, eyes darting toward her, curious, judgmental, speculative. She fled to the back room and dialed Alexander's number with shaking fingers. "I'm so sorry," he said the moment he answered. "I should have protected you better." "This is your world," Lily whispered. "And it's eating me alive." Before he could respond, the diner door swung open. A man in an expensive suit stepped inside, followed by a woman with sharp eyes and a tablet in hand. "We're from King Global Communications," the woman said briskly. "We need to talk." Alexander arrived minutes later, his presence instantly commanding the room. He took Lily's hand without hesitation, grounding her. "They want to turn you into a story," he said quietly. "Spin you. Shape you." "I don't want to be shaped," Lily replied. "I just want to be me." He studied her, conflict etched across his face. "Then you'll have to be strong." Later that evening, alone in his car, Lily stared out the window as cameras flashed outside. For the first time, she felt small, exposed. "This is too much," she said. "Maybe we should slow down." Alexander's grip tightened on the steering wheel. "If we slow down now, they win." She turned to him. "And if we don't, I lose myself." Silence stretched between them, heavy and uncertain. That night, as Lily lay awake in her apartment, she realized something had changed. Love was no longer just a feeling, it was a battle. And becoming a queen, she now understood, meant learning how to stand when the world tried to tear you down.